All right. Hi. Um so with a title like you're seeing right now, I'm sure you must be like, Michelle, what? And where have you been? And yeah, cuz the last couple things I've done were vlogs realistically, and they were much older vlogs, and I've talked about this a lot on my Twitter, my Instagram, and my Twitch. Please, please, please follow me there. I'll have them linked down below. But my life has been. Excuse me, I'm sorry for the yawn. My life has been extremely hectic for many months now, which is why YouTube's had to take a side seat. And I've talked about how much I want to change that. And now my life is slowly getting back to normal to where I feel like I can have more of a rhythm and a groove with things. But that's not why you're here. You're here for the story time. You're here for the explanation. You're here for where I've been. Because originally I was going to title like, oh, life update or where I've been or yada yada yada. And I've tried making those quite a few times. There's actually been quite a few videos where I've sat here looking at my recording screen with my notes, and then I was just out of it that when it came time to editing and rendering, which I did, I ended up reusing footage without realizing it, and I realized that a lot of my files weren't as organized as I wanted them to be. And I needed a really big overhaul, because that was a big eye-opener for me. Was my current laptop, if you guys didn't know, I do everything on a ROG Zephyrus, some numbers I don't remember. And I've been doing that since 2020. And it's a beast. It's great. It does all my streams, it does all my work. I love my laptop. But I'm starting to fall into the old trend. I apologize for the yawning. I am, but I feel like I've made this audio so many times, if I record it again, it's just not gonna happen. So, but my current computer is doing what my old computer did, where the editing and the rendering and the filming the voices, that's the easy part. It's the exporting that's the hard part. It's getting to the point where when I export a video, and if you guys don't know what exporting is, it's when you make it ready for YouTube. Well, that now takes hours. And when that's taking hours, I literally can't have anything going on in the background. I'm lucky that I have an iPad, because then, I can do other stuff with my iPad while that's going on, but that's kind of about it. So, I ended up having a couple videos done, and I realized that they were footage I'd already used, and it was footage I used twice, because I was just so out of it. I didn't even want to watch it through. I was just like, yep, those are video clips. Slap them in there, put them over the audio, go on with my day. And I wasted easily 2 days of work with that, and it royally burned me. It made me feel so bad, because like my videos are already low effort. I acknowledge this. I'm not saying this as like a poor me thing. It's just a fact. My videos aren't that. The editing isn't that big, it isn't that extreme. I would like to do more, but every time I do, I'm like stopped along the way. But that really solidified for me a big thing of like, all right, I need to really sit down and think about this when I'm doing videos now and doing things. And then my life just literally couldn't take a break. It wouldn't. So that ramble was long. I pretty much went on with it 4 minutes without explaining the story. So let's just get into it, right? So there's going to be some wordage I'm going to use in this video that I hope nobody cares about, but some people do. So I'm going to do this little disclaimer. So I'm going to be mentioning pap smears here, and I'm going to be calling them paps for short, just for my own safety. Because I have slurred speech sometimes. Kind of sucks. But sometimes my words slur together. If you guys are new here, you would know that. If you've been here for a while, you would know that. Another thing I'm going to be mentioning is I'm going to be talking about AFAB people. AFAB stands for assigned female at birth. It's just easier that way, and so that's what I'm going to be using. So now you know what AFAB stands for. You know what PAP stands for. Let's get into the video. So, I am an AFAB woman, and pretty much, I had a lot of, well, I shouldn't say I have a lot of health issues. I've had a lot of health issues for a very, very, very long time. And my mother always instilled in me at a very young age to once a year, once I started to menstruate, to see a gynecologist, you know? And I was always very good about that. And the reason for that, which will come into play later, is that when my mom was my age that I am currently at the time of making this, so I am 29, she had a very extreme cancer scare. So pretty much since I was like, I got my menstruation pretty early, but pretty much since I was about 13, 14, I've always gone to a gyno without fail. I hate it. It ain't fun. But it's something I would always do. And so realistically, once I got married, I had to go on new insurance, and that was nearly 4 years ago. And so what ended up happening was I was having a real hard time trying to find a new gynecologist because for a lot of non-AFAB people out there, finding a good gyno is a lot like finding a good therapist because there are way more bad ones than good ones. And I've had my share of horror stories that I most likely will not ever make into YouTube videos. Because I don't think I could. I realistically don't think I could talk about it because some of the stuff that happened, you know, with all the guidelines and regulations. But to each his own, to each his own. So, I had a hard time. And when I finally found one, well, guess what? That's when the first lockdown happened. So I was like, all right. My hospital was so hard to get through. And I couldn't get one. Every time I would try, they would try to push me onto this gyno that was a 4-hour drive one way away, which I can't afford to do. I wasn't going to make a whole day trip just to do that. And I didn't have a lot of issues going on, you know? I thought I was okay. And so then about last year, I don't know if I ever talked about this on YouTube or not, but I'm pretty sure I talked about it on Twitch and stuff. What ended up happening was I ended up getting a really bad kidney infection because I didn't know that I had a UTI because I hadn't been to a gyno in a long time, and I am a AFAB person that lives with a lot of chronic pain, so I just genuinely didn't know. And by the way, when I mention things like this, it's actually not something I enjoy mentioning a lot because while I am a person, like, by the bare bones definition, I am technically a disabled person, I do not personally enjoy labeling myself as such because that's my own issue, you know, and it's mostly because I don't want people attributing my physical and mental health to my work, but that is just me. I'm not talking for every single person because honestly, the fact that I live with chronic pain, for me, doesn't affect my work as much as other people, which is why I don't really like talking about it, you know? But anyway, needless to say, that's my little PSA there. And again, just because I am that way doesn't mean you have to be that way, or other people need to be that way, or you should expect other people to be that way. Everyone's unique and special. Anyway, so I didn't even realize I had this terrible kidney infection. And so, I still didn't get to go in person. I had to like do a survey, do all this stuff, and then I went in person, did a pee test, and they were like, yep, that's a really bad kidney infection. I was on very powerful medications and everything. And they were like, hey, you need to get a pap smear. And I'm like, I know, you should give me one. You should help me make a good appointment. And then my doctor, when I finally got an appointment, my doctor at one point got the virus. So that was canceled. Another time, they canceled. And then another time, they sent me to the wrong hospital. So by the time I was checked in and good to go, I missed my appointment because they took me to the wrong hospital. This thing was all around cursed, right? And I remember making the joke to my friend, Tiffany, that it's like, oh man, I sure hope I don't have cancer. And not so much a haha. It's a haha now because I don't have it. But at the time, it was like a haha, right? So I remember I get in. My neighbor and friend is now with me. She had to drive me at this point because my luck was just so bad with getting this pap. That I get in. She's waiting in the car. Go through all the check-in. Do all the stuff. I found out that I lost 12 pounds. Very proud about that. And all my stuff was coming back great. I was feeling great. I finally after 4 years met my gyno. He was really funny. He was great. We talked a lot. We got a bunch of work done. And then, when it came down to getting the pap done, and if you guys don't know, a pap is used to check for HPV, cancer, and other issues that could be wrong with an AFAB person's uterus, cervix, and just all the stuff going downstairs down there. A lot of people think that you need to have a kid first before you get one. A lot of people think you need to be a certain age before you have to get one. Like I said, my mom always said, once you got to like an age of menstruation and you were able to handle it, get it done once a year. Because my mom was a person that always said, it's something along the lines of like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure or something like that. So go in, we're having ha-has, and it hurt. It hurt a lot, and I originally was like, okay, it hurt a lot because I haven't had one in like 4 years. But I remember my doctor instantly went from like very nice, very caring to talking to the aide in the room and being like, we need to rush this. And I was like, huh? And the mood just drastically changed. Everything was fine, go lucky, to just you could feel the energy in the room shift. Once he was done too, I was nervous now, and he told me to sit up, and he's like, well, we need to talk. And that's never good. So he explained to me that when they opened my cervix, there was a lot of blood. And if you guys didn't know, that's really bad. That's really bad. Because that is most of the time a sign of cancer. And going through my medical history, my mom had, I believe, I'll try to double check it, I believe it was called stage 2 cancer cells, so it was right before they were going to full on become cancer. And with my mom, they were able to stop it with birth control and medication, but I remember thinking like, wow, I haven't been to a doctor in 4 years, I had my kidney infection not too long ago, oh my god, do I have cancer, And my doctor told me that he's like, well, there's a high chance it is, but it could be something else. We're going to run some tests. And I remember being told, and this was the worst thing I think anyone could have ever told me, but, I have Kaiser insurance, and I don't mind saying them because I hate them. But, I live in America, so it's either I have Kaiser or I don't have insurance. So, I can hate them, but there's not much I can do about it. And my doctor told me, my doctor was very nice, and he was like, all right, so if you get a phone call, then you need to pick up because we'll talk you through it from there. And I was like, okay, and if I don't have it, what then? And he was like, well, with how it works, no news is good news. And I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, if you hear nothing back, you might get something in the mail in like 6-7 months, then you're fine. And that's just a scare. And maybe, your menstrual cycle was out of whack or something. Yada, yada, yada. Now, I'm a person that lives with generalized anxiety. Diagnosed generalized anxiety. And I remember just feeling like the world around me shattering because I had made the jokes. I was like, yeah, I hope it's not cancer. And then to have the sudden realization that, well, wow, I could have cancer. And this is a situation where my husband and I, we've had these conversations in the past of situations like this because we've been together for so long that we're very much believers in like everything happens for a reason. And, if this were to happen, then that would be a situation of like, well, I guess we biologically were meant to have kids. You know what I mean? If you guys didn't know, I do eventually want to have kids someday. So, it's kind of a big deal. So I go out, my friend's in the car, she's laughing, and I come out and I was like trying to be like lighthearted about it because I kind of had to be, to prevent myself from like crying and freaking out. I remember being like, hey, so you remember when I joked about it might be cancer? And she was like, no. And I was like, well, it could be. And I told her, and I had to then call my mom, which wasn't fun because I'm very close to my family. I'm very lucky that I'm close to my family. And so I didn't want to lie to my mom and then not tell her and then get the news and like call her up one day and like, so mom, guess what? But no, so I explained it to her and my mom and my dad cried. Even though I explained, I don't know. They just said it's a high chance. I called Cody when he was off of work because I didn't want to call him at work and like ruin his work day. I told my other partner, and then I told a small group of my close friends. I didn't want to tell a lot of people. And there's a big reason why I hesitated talking about it online until I knew for sure. And the simple reason was that there are people out there. I'm lucky, not so much now compared to how it used to be, but there are people out there that when people talk about serious issues like this that are hard to talk about, there are people out there who think it's fake. Because sadly there are people that do this stuff for views and for attention. But because of that, there's a lot of people out there that they think this kind of stuff is for the views and for sympathy and to get attention. And I'm not going to lie, I was in such a bad place after hearing that news. I just didn't want it. I didn't even want it out there. You know what I mean? I didn't want someone to tell me there was a forum on it. I didn't want it to be a big thing. I didn't want it. I genuinely don't think I could have handled it. I'm in a better place now, which is why I'm talking about it. But it's something I kept hush-hush for a long time. And I asked my friends to keep hush-hush for a long time. And it was hard. It was really hard. It was hard on my relationship. It was hard with my friends because we had to, see where we were. Because I hadn't had one in 4 years, if it was cancer, we didn't know how far along it could have been, So, ironically enough, we were hoping for the no news, right? And when I was doing Anime Guild Torrents, which ironically enough I think is a vlog that's going to be going up after this, so now you're going to have some context if you watch that vlog. I had my friend Empress Kaiju, Anna, staying with me to be my table buddy. And so we're there, right? She's there the night before. We're getting things set up to get ready for the con. And I get an email. I get an email from Kaiser. This was about 2, maybe 3 weeks later. And I remember just Anna sitting next to me. Cody was on the couch. And Cody's my husband. Didn't know. And she told me, she just watched all the color wash out of my face. Because, remember, my doctor had told me no news is good news. And this was the night before my very first mall showing. Mall event. And I was scared to open the email. I was very scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. So, after a little bit, I gathered up some courage. I opened it up. And the first thing I read in bold was Pap smear results normal. And then under it were some hotlines I had to call. And I have to now get a cancer screening once a year just to be safe because they do think that I have a very high risk of getting it because of my genetic history and this scare. And I started laughing. I instantly started laughing and crying. And I felt such a weight off of my shoulders. And I think back to what would have happened if that email wasn't there. Because the waiting was the worst part. I'm not going to lie. The whole hope for no news made me petrified to answer the phone from a number I didn't recognize. It made me terrified to check my emails. And the worst part was the world doesn't stop spinning. And that was something I really learned. I learned it when my husband's grandmother died during the virus lockdown. I learned the world doesn't stop, And for me, that was something I had to do. I had to still do work. I had to still pay my bills. My husband had to go to work. We couldn't get a moment to breathe, And I didn't want that out there. I didn't want that extra stuff out there. I didn't want people to feel sorry for me if this had happened. I didn't want people to think I was lying. And so, ironically enough, the first people that I told this story to was my Twitch audience. But then because of a little incident, I had to delete the stream later on. So I was like, that's great. But yeah, It was honestly one of the tipping points to why I had to take this hiatus from YouTube for a while. Was because I was just going through so much other stuff. And there was other stuff going on in the background, by the way. It wasn't just this. This was just this was the flour in the cake, if that makes any sense. This was the base of the cake. That I couldn't talk about. You know, I just couldn't talk about for a long time. And so I had to pick and choose my battles. I had to get my work done. I had to pick what was helping me financially so I wouldn't be as stressed out. And I did. And that was my cancer scare. My cancer scare story. Words. But, yeah. It was horrifying. But I want you to know that if you've been through something similar, or you were nervous about some other medical thing, know that you're not alone. And also, obviously, I don't owe you guys this story. I didn't need to share this. I wanted to share this. Why did I want to share it? Because I know there are other people out there that are going through similar things. You know, we're going through really bad, horrible stuff that we don't want to talk about online until we're ready to talk about. We don't want to talk about it when the wound is still fresh. We want to talk about it when it's settled, when we're okay to talk about it, when we're not as emotionally invested to it. Which I still am in a way. Obviously, I'm, getting a little emotional right now recording this audio, but not like how it used to be. And it was hard because when I got the good news, a lot of my friends that were strong for me, that's when they had told me that, like, oh yeah, when you told me when I got off the phone, I started sobbing. Oh my God, when you told me, I started to think of, like, a world without you in it. And it really, really hit me hard, Even though I learned that, for AFAB people, cervical cancer is one of the, it sounds bad, it's one of the better cancers to have. It's, like, one of the most livable ones. Still not great. I'm not saying I wish it on anybody, but it was, like, a whole thing, and really helps put a lot of things into perspective. But, yeah. So, there's that. I know it might be weird to say I hope you guys enjoy it, but I hope you guys did. I hope you guys are excited to have me kind of back at a semi-regular basis. I'm going to try to shoot for a video once a week again. Even if it's video vlog, or whatever. Just as I get back into the swing of things. Because, like I said, well, that was the base of the cake. A lot of other stuff's happened, but I'm finally at a spot where I'm like, I think things have chilled for a bit. So, yeah. Thank you, as always, to my Patreon patrons. I love you guys so much. And, yeah, as always, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.